The medical section on the system contains a lot of different sections. This video will explain how to use each section. Each section of the medical section can be accessed by placing your mouse over the medical icon and then selecting one of the multiple options. Vaccinations, accidents, short and long-term medications, concerns, medicines and first aid boxes. In addition, you can access each section by clicking on the tabs at the top of the page. The medical overview section gives you a breakdown for each child on the system for all sections. The overview shows the last accident date for a child, if the accident has been signed or not by the parents, whether the child has any active or complete medications, the date of the last concerns for the child, and a red exclamation mark if any vaccinations are overdue for the child. Clicking on the view icon will take you to an overview page for the child. When you arrive at the overview page for the individual child, each section is broken down. Here we can see at the top the currently active short and long-term medications for the child, all of the child's accidents, incidents and existing injuries, all of the child's short-term medications, long-term medications and concerns, and the immunisations and vaccinations for the child. From this page you can jump directly to each section. For example, here for the short-term medications you can click on the manage icon and then copy, edit, view, print or delete that short-term medication. Again, as on the overview page, you can see the current status of the medication. Here for the arnica cream, it is currently active and has not yet been signed by parents. The dose column shows the number of doses that have been given for that particular medication. In this example, 0. At the top of the page, within the currently active short and long-term medications, you can quickly record a dose of medication. Simply click on the green icon on the right-hand side and the pop-up will ask you to confirm that you want to record a dose of that medication at the current date and time. If you do, simply click OK. You will now see that we have recorded a dose of medication at the current date and time, and the number of doses now shows as 1. If you want to record a dose of medication for a child not at the current time, you can simply click on the dose icon here that will take you to a new page where you can record a dose of medication at any date and time. Here we can see the record a dose. You can record the dosage given, who gave the dose, the date, the time, and any additional notes. Here within the previous recorded doses section, you can see all of those that were previously given. For each recorded dose, you can edit or delete. Before you can record short-term and long-term medication, it is advisable to add medications to the system. You can do this by going to the medicines section. By default, there are a number of medications that have already been added to your system. These can be edited or deleted as required, and you can add your own medications to the system. By adding medications to the system, this speeds up the process of adding a short-term and long-term medication for a child, as will be demonstrated shortly. To add a medication, simply click on the Add a Medicine button at the top of the page and then add the information for the medication. Visibility means that it will only be shown in short, long-term or short and long-term when you add a medication. Hide means that you do not want this medication to be shown currently on the system. Add your medication name, the reason, the dose amount and the frequency. If you have an image for your medication, click on the upload icon to upload an image for your medication. Once you have added the information, click on the save button to save your medication. All the medications will be shown within the medicines and treatments section. If you need to edit one, click on the manage icon and click on edit. You can now make any changes required to the medication and click on save at the bottom of the page. Once you have added your medicines onto the system, you can now quickly add short-term and long-term medications for a child. You do not have to add medications, therefore if you have a new medication that you need to record, you can simply add all the information when you add the short-term or long-term medication. Let's now proceed and add a short-term medication to the system. We click on the short-term icon and we will now see we are in the short-term medication section. To add a medication for a child, simply select the child from the drop-down list. In this example, we're going to select a medication for Harry. Select your child and click on Create a short-term medication. You will now arrive at the Add Medication for Harry Harvey. Shown to the right here are the medications you currently have on your system. If you want to record a medication that is not currently on the system, you can simply enter all the information into these boxes on the left hand side. If you are recording a medication that you do have in your medicine section, simply click on the medication shown here. All the information for that medication will now appear on the left hand side. If you need to change any of the information, you can simply edit the text in the boxes. The start date is the date you are first going to start giving the medication to the child. The completion date, if it's for just one day, would be the same date. Again, if you need to change any dates, just click and change the dates. If you have any additional notes, simply enter them into this box. Within the previous dose of medication section, if Harry has been given a previous dose of the medication, you can click on Yes, and in the new box that appears, complete this information. For example, we're going to say that Mum gave a dose of this medication this morning. Within the Given by Who section, we select either the parent or the administrator who gave the dose of medication. We're going to select Jane Harvey, which is Harry's mum. We now record the date, which was today, and the time, which was early this morning. In the additional notes box, we're going to say that the first dose was given by Harry's mum. We now scroll down to the permission required section. If this is a non-prescribed medication, you do not need permission from the parents. However, if this was a prescribed medication, i.e. prescribed by a doctor or other health professional, then you will need to obtain permission from Harry's parents. To do this, simply click on Yes, and the parents will now be able to sign, giving you permission to record the medication. In this example, even though it's a non-prescribed medication, we're going to select the Yes option so I can show you how parents sign. Once you have completed all the information, click on the Save button at the bottom of the page. The system now tells you that the medication form has been successfully saved, and you will see now for Harry we have the Bebanthen Nappy Care Ointment Cream with an exclamation stating that permission is required from the parent before a dose of the medication can be given. Within the dose section, you will see that the icon is red, and you will see one dose, which was the dose Mum gave this morning. The status is currently active, indicating that it's not yet been marked as complete. We are currently unable to add a dose of medication until Harry's parents have signed. Parents can sign by logging into the system either on an app or a tablet, or signing on a PC or laptop if their iSign signature has been set up by you. If you have not set up the iSign signature with a parent, this can be done by placing your mouse over the parent's icon and clicking on Parent iSign. We are now going to place our mouse over the Manage icon, and we're going to select the Sign option. If we now scroll down, we can see all the information regarding this medication. Here we can see in the permission section that we require parental permission prior to us recording any doses of medication for Harry. Ask the parent to fill in their name and click on the sign box in the signature section. They can now enter their signature. And again, parent 2 can also repeat this process. Once the parents have signed, click on the Save button to save their information. The system will now tell you that the medication form has been signed. If we scroll down, you will now see parent 1 and parent 2's signature. Further down the page, you will see the previous recorded dose, which was the dose the mum gave in the morning. Now if we go back to the View Short-Term Medication Overview page and look at Harry's medications, you will see the last dose information, and you will now see that the dose icon is green. Clicking on the dose icon will take us to a new page where we can record a dose of medication. Once a dose of medication has been completed, it can be marked off as complete. To do this, simply click on the active icon in the status column. The system will now warn you that you're about to switch the active medication to complete. By doing this, you will no longer be able to record any doses of medication. Click on the switch button to mark it complete. You will now see for the Bebanthen Nappy Care Ointment it is showing as complete, and we can now no longer add any doses of medication. If we click on the sign icon, we can now scroll to the bottom of the page and ask the parents to sign the completed medication form. Once they have signed, click on the Save button. On the overview page for the medication, you will now see the status at the top is complete, the full information regarding the medication, the initial Parent 1 and Parent 2 permission signatures, all the recorded doses of medication, and the final signatures at the bottom of the page. With regards to long-term medications, the process for recording and signing the medications is the same as the long-term medications. The only difference between the short-term and long-term medications is that when you add a medication, there are additional sections that can be completed regarding specialist training, routine and emergency treatments. Everything else regarding long-term and short-term medications remains the same. We are now going to take a look at the Concerns section on the system by clicking on the Concerns tab here or at the top of the page within the medical icon. One important thing regarding the Concerns section is that concerns can not be seen by parents on the system. The Concerns section allows you to record any type of concerns you have for a child. This could be medical concerns or development concerns, etc. To add a concern for a child, simply select the child from the drop-down list and click on Create Concern. In the title box, enter the title for your concern and then enter any concerns you have in the description box. There are no limits to the number of characters you can enter here. By default, the date will show today's date. Again, you can change this by clicking on the calendar icon. Once you have entered your details, click on the Save button. All the concerns for a child will be displayed by clicking on the down arrow for that child. Clicking on the Manage icon allows you to edit, view, print or delete that concern. The First Aid section on the system, found by clicking on the First Aid tab, allows you to create and edit any first aid boxes within your setting or in vehicles, etc. To add a first aid box, click on the icon at the top of the page. You can now enter the location of your first aid box. In this example, the kitchen. You can now select if this is a small, large or medium first aid box. Notes, for example, could contain the exact location of the first aid box or any other information that you would like to add. Now you can go ahead and add your items in your first aid box. For each item, enter the item name, any notes, recommended quantity, the actual quantity, whether the item expires and has an expiry date. So we're going to enter large plasters. You can enter any notes related to your large plasters. In this example, we're going to put not very sticky. Now enter the recommended quantity of large plasters you should have in this first aid box. The actual recommended quantity is 8. We currently have just 5. Is there an expiry date? If there is, tick the expiry date and enter the expiry date of the plasters. You now repeat this process for all of the items in the first aid box. Click on Add Another Item and enter the next item in the first aid box. For the large bandage, we do not have any notes. The recommended quantity is 2 and we actually have 3. There's no expiry on the large bandage, so we leave this section unticked. Repeat this process, adding all the items within your first aid box, and then click on the Save button at the bottom of the page. The system tells you that the first aid box has been added, and you can now see the location of your first aid box, the kitchen, the size large, that has 2 items. You will see here we have an alert icon. Placing your mouse over the alert icon indicates an item within the first aid box is below the recommended quantity. You can make changes to the first aid box by clicking on the Edit, Copy, View, Print or Delete icons. We are now going to take a look at the accidents on the system. Clicking on the Accident tab will take us directly to the Accident section on the system. To record a new accident, incident or existing injury for a child, just select the child from the drop-down box and click on Create Accident Incident. On the new page, we can now enter the title for the accident. Unfortunately, Harry had an accident at the park. We now select the record type. Was it an accident, an incident, or an existing injury? This was an accident. We now record the date, which was today, and the time, which was 3:35. Now we can select the location. This is the first accident we've had in this location, therefore we need to add a new location. Enter your new location on the right hand side and click on the add icon. This will now add the location as Hargreaves Park. Now we can enter the description, i.e. how the event took place. Within the injury section we detail the injuries that Harry sustained during this event. Within the actions section we detail the actions that were taken by you after the event. And finally the condition, i.e. the condition of Harry shortly after this event. Scrolling down we now see the body diagram. We can now identify the locations of Harry's injuries. Unfortunately Harry scraped his knee and his elbow. We simply click and drag and drop the square or X's onto the body diagram indicating where Harry hurt himself. Once you are happy with the information that's been added, we click on the Save button at the bottom of the page. System now tells you that the accident form has been saved. We can now see Harry's accidents by clicking on the down arrow in the View column. Here's the accident that we had. It was the fall at the park, and this was added by Liz Adams, and it was an accident. Currently it shows a red X as it has not been signed by the parents. Clicking on the Manage icon and clicking on Sign will allow the parents to sign when you are logged in as an administrator. Parents can sign the accident form on the app or on the tablet or on a PC or laptop if they have set up iSign with you. To set up Parents iSign, mouse over the Parents icon at the top of the page and click on Parents iSign. Here's all the information for the accident. Further down is the body diagram that we recorded, and finally the signature sections for the parents. The parents can enter their full name and click on the Sign button to sign. If you want parent 2 to sign also, they can also enter their full name and sign. Once the parent has signed, click on the Save button at the bottom of the page. You will now see that the accident form has been signed by a parent, and scrolling to the bottom of the page will show the signatures for the parent. If you need to delete the signatures, i.e. the parent has not signed correctly or entered their correct name, you can click on the delete icon to delete the signature and name and click on Save. The parents will then have to re-sign. If we now go to the overview page for the accident section, you will see for Harry Harvey that the fall at the park accident has now been signed. Clicking on the Manage icon and clicking on View will allow you to view the information for the accident. We are now going to take a look at the Vaccinations section on the system, accessed by clicking on the Vaccination tab. By default, there are 18 vaccinations and immunisations that have been placed on the system. These vaccinations are recommended by the NHS along with the date that the vaccination is due. Should you need to change any of the vaccinations or immunisations on this page, click on the Manage icon and click on Edit or Delete to remove them. Likewise, if you need to add your own vaccinations to the system, click on the vaccination icon at the top of the page. You can now enter the vaccination, what it protects against, whether it's for boys or girls or both, the age due in either weeks, months or years, and whether it is a required vaccination or immunisation. Click on the Save button to save your vaccination or immunisation. Returning to the View Vaccinations page, at the top you will see a Child Vaccinations button. Clicking on this will show you all the children on the system. For each child you will see either a green tick or a red exclamation mark. A green tick means that all their vaccinations are up to date. The system takes their age and the age due for the vaccination and works out if any vaccinations are currently overdue. Here we can see for Harry, who is aged 27 months, we have a red exclamation mark. If we click on the Manage icon and click on Edit, you will see that there are a number of vaccinations that have not been recorded for Harry. To record a vaccination for the child, simply click on the red X and a pop-up will appear. Now select the date of the vaccination. If Harry had the vaccination before he started at the setting, simply click the tick box inside the Before Settings section and click on Save. You can repeat this for each vaccination, recording the date that they were vaccinated. Clicking on the View Children's Vaccinations button takes us back to the Children Overview page, where you can repeat the process, recording vaccinations for other children. The important thing to remember regarding the medication section is that parents cannot see any concerns you add onto the system for their child. If a short or long-term medication is a prescribed medication, you must get permission from the parents before you can record doses of medication on the system. And finally, when accidents, short-term or long-term medications have been completed on the system, parents can sign all of these forms.